Okay, pre-cal, it is time to start talking about trigonometric ratios. So trig ratios, what are they? Well, you probably remember from geometry talking about sine, cosine, and tangent. So that is what we're going to be talking about. So SOH CAH TOA is just kind of an abbreviated way to help you remember some of these ratios. So what are you talking about, Ms. Griggs? Well, here's what I'm talking about. Your trigonometric ratios, if you'll think about what a ratio means, it's basically a fraction. So a ratio of two sides of a right triangle will produce your trigonometric ratios. So I want you to notice that on each of these, I've got sine of theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta, cosecant theta, secant theta, cotangent theta. All right, what are you talking about, Ms. Griggs? All right, you can only take a trigonometric value of an angle. So when I'm talking about theta, I'm talking about an angle in the right triangle, but not the right angle. Okay, just like in the right triangle review video, theta is going to represent one of the other angles in the right triangle. So we can only take sine, cosine, tangent, and their reciprocals of theta as a ratio of two of the sides of a right triangle. So what does this look like? Well, for sine, and these are all abbreviated, when you look at this, you should read it this way. Sine of theta equals the ratio of the side opposite, so opposite side, the side opposite of theta, over the hypotenuse. Remember, it's a ratio of sides. All right, now I want you to notice something. You're going to love this. So, sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. That's where the letters come from, SOH. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, now we're going to look at cosine. When you see this, we don't call it cos. It is cosine theta. And before you argue with me about the abbreviations, I want you to look at something. When you go to the doctor, let's say you're going to someone called Dr. Smith. Do you call them Dar Smith? No, you call them Dr. Smith. So abbreviations are for writing, not pronunciation. Yes, I've experienced this. Okay, cosine theta. A and H, that would be the adjacent side, what? Over the hypotenuse. Score. See? C, A, H. See how that works, kids? It's magical. Okay, this is not the color tan. It's an abbreviation of tangent and, of course, of theta. So this is going to equal, look at these letters, O and A. What do you think those stand for, kids? Opposite, yeah, over adjacent. Awesome. Kids, I know you're having so much fun with this. Try to calm down. All right, now these right here, these are reciprocals. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So we are going to write these out, cosecant, so you'll know what they look like. I did have a kid a few years ago call this cusk. It's not, it's cosecant. And since it's the reciprocal of sine, guess what? It's the hypotenuse over the opposite side. You just flip it around. Okay, secant theta is going to be the reciprocal of cosine, which is hypotenuse over adjacent. And cotangent theta is equal to the reciprocal of tangent. So that's going to be adjacent over opposite side. Awesome. Okay, so let's look at an identity here. Reciprocal identities and quotient identities. These are the identities we're going to talk about. Identities just means it's just a rule, okay? That's always true. So sine of x, and notice I'm using x now instead of theta. It doesn't matter, okay? So I don't want you to freak out. I'm just using x to show you that you can use any letter to designate an angle. So sine of x, the reciprocal identity, tells me that this is the same as 1 over cosecant x, because remember, cosecant is sine's reciprocal. So that's why I'm going to write it like that. Cosecant x is 1 over sine x. Cosine x is 1 over secant x. Secant x is 1 over cosine x. Tangent x is 1 over, you guessed it, cotangent x. And cotangent x is 1 over tangent x. Now, these two right here we're going to use a lot. The quotient identities are really important. So you have to understand that tangent is actually the sine of x over the cosine of x. And cotangent, since it's the reciprocal of tangent, is cosine x over sine x. That's going to be really, really important to us when we get to the unit circle.